Once again, our viewers, we welcome you to the Al Hidayah show from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. every day. Our theme is science and Islam, or Islam and science. But more specifically today, we are appreciating the miracles of the human body, and more specifically, the cardiovascular system. Previously, we looked at the heart, that is the previous Monday, and now we are going to look at how the blood that we looked at earlier is saturated or pumped by the heart to different parts of the body. Today is 4th August 2025 on the Gregorian calendar, corresponding with 10th Safar 1447, and that is on the Hijriya calendar. We appreciate you and remind you that Thursday, Friday, Saturday are going to be the white days of this very month. So please and please endeavor to fast them, since it's Sunnah, and someone who fasts the white days is as if he has fasted the whole month. Today in studio, we are going to have our usual guest, Mr. Sekalema. Could you introduce yourself to our dear viewers?
Naam, our viewers, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My name is Sekalema Hamza, and I'm a lecturer in the Department of Computer Science at the Islamic University in Uganda. I'm also very actively involved in this issue of Daawa. Daawa essentially is calling people to what is good, and in this case we call everyone to Islam because it's the system that is logical, that takes care of your physical and spiritual needs, and it is what keeps us alive. So we are here usually to contemplate about the miracles that Allah has put in the world, in the universe. We started out in outer space, oceans. Now we are on the human body, because Allah himself has ordered us and said, وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ, meaning even within yourselves, if you just look at yourselves, you should be able to find something to attach yourself to and believe and worship Allah in the correct way. Now,
thank you very much. This is the Al Hidayah show. Always join us from Afromobile app, that is for people who are not watching from the TV, the Go TV, Star Timers. Please watch us. We always appreciate you, our dear viewers of Salam TV. I think we're going to start from briefly, what is this cardiovascular system, Mr. Hamza Sekalema?
Now, our dear viewer, we tell you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the human being, and we have been looking all along at just individual organs. So these individual organs in themselves are a miracle, meaning if you look at them and see their features, they're a miracle. But they can't work in isolation. We don't have any organ that is able to just work by itself and that is all. They always connect to others, and we get what we call a system. So when we talk of circulatory system, we are talking of that system that allows blood to move efficiently around within the human body. And that is what we are referring to today as our miracle. How this system works, the various very interesting facts about it, and possibly we shall also look at some problems that can arise in case your circulatory system is not actually working fine, inshallah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hamza Sekalema, for that highlight. Our dear viewer would like to appreciate some key facts about this circulatory system that you've told us. We all know that this is how blood transports from the heart, or it is how it's pumped from the heart up to other body parts. But we would like to appreciate those key facts that our dear viewer would like to appreciate and then contemplate upon. Yes, you're welcome.
Now, so the heart, first of all, remember last week they were looking at the heart, a very interesting organ indeed, and it is one of the things that form the circulatory system. Our selector will possibly show us the schematic or the diagram for the circulatory system. So if you look at the circulatory system, you see that the heart is essentially the center of everything. The rest are essentially just tubes and pipes that are moving around, and they've reduced the detail a bit to allow us to appreciate. We don't want to go into a lot of heavy medical content. We just want our viewer to appreciate that within the human body we have clusters. You have some big blood vessels like the aorta and some of the others, So the schematic there shows you essentially within your body that system moves two kinds of blood. The blood that you see that is colored red is that blood that has oxygen in it, and it's the useful blood. But once it moves to the organs, it loses its oxygen content and it therefore becomes deoxygenated. So it has to be brought back into the heart, of course, via the lungs for purposes of oxygenation in order for it to move forward. So that schematic there very easily summarizes what we mean by our circulatory system. So this heart, which is the center of the entire system, is the key pump, and it beats up to 100,000 times within a single day. Just imagine that level of stability first of all, and the effort involved. If you just touch your thorax or your chest, you will feel that there is a lot of force being applied by this organ, but it never tires. For years and years it keeps on pumping, and it is over 100,000 times within a single day. Then the other interesting thing about this mechanism that we call the circulatory system is the self-regulation in terms of blood pressure. Last week I think you heard about the issue of blood pressure being either too high or too low. You know very well that once you have your blood pressure exceeding what is expected, you begin to face problems immediately. Or if it falls below what is expected, you again begin to face problems. Meaning at a given moment you should be having the appropriate blood pressure that is supposed to be applicable to your body in particular. So here we are told that the arteries and sensors within your body will keep adjusting the pressure of the blood dynamically, so it's not static. You realize that if you go to a hospital and they are measuring your blood pressure, each time they measure they get another value, and that's why you see that when they are indicating normality, they don't just mention one figure and say you should be having 120 to 80. No, it is a range, because it keeps varying from point to point depending on the needs of the body. You realize that when you are running, you now need a lot more blood pressure to move the blood a bit faster as compared to one that is not in active, not being active. So that pressure is automatically regulated. We don't have to intervene and say, now let me press here and I increase a bit, then you find you've gone beyond, you press back. No, you don't have any involvement in that process. And because of the critical nature of blood and how it determines whether we are alive or not, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made that this system is not controlled necessarily by the brain. These other organs that we have tend to be controlled by the brain. For example, you see these lungs, they are important, but interestingly they are controlled by the brain. The danger with the things that are controlled by the brain is that the organ itself can be working fine, but it ends up unable to work just because of the defect on the brain. I'll just give you an example. There is a Palestinian that was living in Jordan. So the Israeli government decided to assassinate him, and what they did, they simply put a small chemical in his ear. They sprayed it like the way you spray perfume.
I understand.
And they went away. So physically you wouldn't see that there is any harm they've done to them, and they've just sprayed some small aerosol around. And so those two people that attacked that man were arrested and put in jail. But the man now, after some few hours, started experiencing breathing problems. The doctors would look at the lungs. There is absolutely no problem with the lungs. So the lungs are 100% normal, not even a single defect, but the man is failing to breathe. So it is when they interrogated these two people that had sprayed the chemical on him, and they told them that the purpose of the chemical was to disorganize the brain function that controls the lungs. So meaning, even if you have the physical entity called the lung, but the brain's control element has been antagonized, you will stop breathing, you will even die. But the organs are fine, but the brain is controlling them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has saved us from that by keeping the heart and its systems not managed by the brain. For them, they control themselves on their own. And it therefore guarantees us that even if a person is having a lot of other issues, the circulatory system will continue to work using its minimal intelligence and ability to manage. So blood pressure is auto-regulated. It does not go too high, it does not go too up. When you are doing an activity, it adjusts in order to fit the need.
MashaAllah.
The same thing applies to oxygen. Remember that blood is largely moving this oxygen around. There is no other way that that gas will move around within your body.
Yes.
But now, the oxygen need is also not static.
Yes.
A person who is running will need a lot more oxygen than the one who is walking, and vice versa. So in that case, it means the heart should be able to also know how much oxygen am I going to be sending to that particular location. The other interesting thing about the way this blood actually moves around is that the need is not also covering the entire body. For example, a person who is running, it's not that the entire body needs exactly the same amount. No, you'll find the legs that are doing much of the running work will require a lot more supply of oxygen. And in that case, therefore, the heart has to measure and know, let me send quantity X here, let me send quantity Y here. So the precision of how much oxygen should be sent where is also automatically managed by that system. So you don't get deficiencies. Otherwise, in case you have a problem in that your muscles are not having enough oxygen, then you again begin to face very big problems. Or in case you over pump. So the body is in such a way that Allah has made it optimized. You pump less, a problem arises. You pump excess, a problem arises. So you have to keep within a certain limit. And that is another very important and interesting fact that we need to know about the circulatory system. The next issue that we need to be aware of is the length
of these networks that we are seeing.
So this circulatory system that you have within your body is an extremely long one. If it is to be stretched, meaning if you pull out all the blood vessels, put them together into one continuous string, you'll get a string as long as 60,000 miles.
Allah.
Here the Americans use miles. The miles to kilometers is a 5:8 ratio, so you could very quickly calculate. So 60,000 miles is the total length of all the blood vessels that are within your
one person.
In one person.
Allah Akbar.
Now remember that the blood has to keep moving around that entire distance. So you can really see how much this system is actually distributing. 60,000 miles of blood vessels that are covering your entire body, allowing it to work, and with each part critical. When you see it and blood is no longer moving very well, you begin to face some problems, you feel some numbness, and it is so. It means just a small adjustment in the way your body is positioned can begin to show that there's already the problem. But the heart has to ensure, and the entire circulatory system, they have to ensure that this person has good distribution across that entire network of 60,000 miles.
Allah.
Something that is indeed a miracle. So we say, Fatabarakallahu ahsanul khaliqin. Indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the very best of those that create. Then the other important thing, which we also looked at when we were seeing blood, is the capacity to clot immediately. Now remember that this blood of ours is essentially liquid. But the blood vessels are hidden. But should there occur an injury on yourself, the blood now, the vessels are cut and they will continue to spread blood around. So if we didn't have the clotting element in our blood, we would end up with a very big problem, meaning the blood would simply keep flowing until the person dies. Because remember that the blood is not continuously being manufactured at a very fast rate, so bleeding is one way that can cause you to die. Actually, the majority of people that die of, for example, gunshot wounds, they don't die necessarily because of the impact of the gunshots themselves. It's mainly because of loss of blood. And that's why in some countries like the US, people get shot, but the majority do actually survive just because there are emergency medical teams. The medical system is fast enough to capture this person while they will still have 5-10 minutes to time out, and they take them to hospital and they survive. that of course here in our Uganda, should you be shot, in most cases you die.
You're not near health.
So even simple things like accidents, many people do die just because of loss of blood. They are alive and well after the accident, but the blood keeps dripping. But our blood is designed within that circulatory system to clot instantly. So last time, I think 2 weeks ago, we did see the components of blood, and we had
platelets and the
so we had the platelets. Now those platelets, their purpose is to simply cover that part that has received an injury, so that it no longer allows blood to ooze out. And in that case, we are able to survive. Otherwise, if you look at the number of times you have been injured to the point of bleeding, you'd have already died. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already designed these survival mechanisms in such a way that they very quickly intervene and you stop the bleeding. Of course, there are people that do have an anomaly with their blood system, in that the clotting does not occur in a good time, and they usually have very many problems. So that is another factor, number 5. Then the 6th one is the circulation of blood within this fetus. Now, you know very well that when a mother conceives, a process of creating a new human being is started. But this little creature that is forming within the mother does not have the necessary organs at the start.
True.
So they grow out of a process. But remember that these organs are critical now, like for example, flow of blood. That is something that is needed on day 1. But the heart is not going to form in 1 hour.
To generate these other parts.
Exactly. So even to slowly by slowly grow into a sensible thing that we can call a human being, you need blood to be moving around. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has designed it in such a way that this baby that is forming within the womb of the mother does not actually utilize its lungs in that process of blood flow.
Meaning it skips when blood goes to the baby, you only uses, then the deoxygenated goes to the mother.
Exactly.
Allah
because the lungs are there, because we know very well that when a child is born, the child essentially starts breathing, so the lungs are functional.
So meaning this change takes place immediately after birth. It has to change now to start using
exactly
the lungs.
When this child is born, that is when again another miracle occurs. Somehow Allah kickstarts the process of breathing via the lungs. And you can see that the circulatory system will in that case again switch and now resort to utilizing the lungs as the source of oxygen. But Allah has designed this integral circulation between the mother and the child, and interestingly there is also some kind of filter between the mother and child. It's not that
blood does not mix up.
it's not that the two things are just one lump sum that is interacting together. No, they are two semi-independent objects that are having blood moving within them, but it does not necessarily mix. And I think that's why children are able to be born from HIV positive mothers, and technically they are not. They are not, because the blood is not exactly mixed. So you can see a very interesting thing there, that in the fetus, the blood does not actually go into the lungs for oxygenation. It now relies on the mother's oxygenation process, and in the end, when the child is born, we do get a switch back. And I understand, maybe you could confirm that when children are born naturally, meaning through push outside,
there is normal delivery.
So that normal delivery also has an impact in the way the breathing system is kicked off. I think the effort that this small child puts in to come out, and the way it comes out, has an impact on how the lungs kick into action, as compared to this one that is found idle through some kind of operation and it is exposed. So all those things Allah has designed them to be interactive. And we have said the baby also has a circulatory system, and it works fine. The baby is able to grow, but it does not utilize, before birth, it does not utilize the internal lungs, because they are not functional, but they are there. it instead relies on oxygenation from the mother's blood.
So thank you very much, Mr. Hamza Sekalema, for this first session. We are going to go for a short break, and then when we come back, we shall be continuing with the key facts about the circulatory system. In our first session, we've looked at the circulatory system, some key facts. We've looked at the oxygenated blood being red, and then the deoxygenated blood being blue in color, and then we've appreciated that this blood transfers all this circulatory system. As when you make it a single coil, it is approximately 600,000 miles. This is indeed a miracle of our human body we need to appreciate. We're going for a break, and then we join after that. Thank you very much.
Just to know who supervises government projects. MPs oversee the implementation of government programs and regulate public expenditure through the budget process. Your MP monitors and informs the executive the misuse of government funds, violations of rule of law, and unlawful activities in any part of the country at large. Your member of parliament is your representative. Make your voice heard. This message is brought to you by the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda. Don't miss out on being part of the ultimate game changer. Omumanyiwa Salam TV is expanding nationwide, bringing life-changing prizes to all Ugandans. Everyone can win, including cars, Haji and Umrah pilgrimages, land titles, hard cash, home furniture, TV sets, and many others. Partner with us in this noble cause and let's transform lives together. Don't miss out. Call or WhatsApp 0776 988 064 or 0702 988 064 for more information. Get ready to win from June 10th, 2025 to February 14th, 2026.
A new era has arrived, and it starts with a simple download. Get the new and improved My DSTV app and get used to more control with streamlined payments, easy error clearing, live chat assistance, and more, all in one app. This is the My DSTV experience, reimagined and upgraded to a whole new level. Download the new My DSTV app from your app store.
I'm one of the scientists now doing research on plastic technology recycling, where we can be able to produce other products from plastic waste. For example, we are trying to develop a plastic tile with sand plastic tile, that it is unbreakable, it can be shifted from one roof to another. So this is a project we are working on. It's our initiative as Kazire Group of trying to reduce waste from the environment. Brothers and sisters, Taso Butonde for a better Uganda.
This message is brought to you by National Environment Management Authority, Kampala Capital City Authority, Vivo Energy, Airco, Pepsi, Stanbic Bank, and NBS TV. Better steady, be better.
I got a call from someone and he said he was from UCC and he said he was going to block my number because they were updating. And I remember typing in some things, and the next thing I know, I received a message saying that I had sent all the money I had to that number. So don't be like me. Digital fraud is very real, and many people, it is very common these days. So please be vigilant. Do not share your PIN to anyone. Bella said, be better.
In partnership with Uganda Communications Commission and NBS.
Bored of watching the same stuff on TV? Say no more! AfroMobile is now on smart TVs, bringing you the hottest Ugandan and African content, bigger, better, and right on your screen. Live TV? Check. Classic Ugandan series? Absolutely. The latest music shows and rewindable live events? You got it. No interruptions, no limits, just non-stop entertainment all in one application. Now streaming on Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV and more. AfroMobile is your ultimate home entertainment sidekick. Getting started is a breeze. Just head to the App Store on your smart TV, search AfroMobile, download and start watching. AfroMobile, authentic African stories.
Eno, yes, Salam TV.
We'll be back from that short break. We appreciate your dear viewers of Salam TV for always keeping on or for always tuning in. Previously in our first session, we've looked at key facts about the circulatory system. This is the Al Hidayah show. Every Monday from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. you can stream live, GoTV, StarTimes, or the AfroMobile app. In our second session, we are going to continue with our usual guest, Hamza Sekalema, to appreciate the miracles of the human body, more specifically about the circulatory system. Mr. Hamza Sekalema, as we are concluding the first session, you told us that this baby is utilizing, as the human heart is created at exactly 3 weeks, that is immediately after conception, and you told us that this baby is utilizing the mother's oxygenated blood, but is not using his own or its own lungs. Which other key factors or facts that our dear viewer of Salam TV would appreciate about this circulatory system? You're welcome, Mr. Hamza Sekalema.
Naam, alhamdulillah. Now, the next thing we can appreciate is that you have a finite amount of blood within your body. Essentially, 5 liters are moving around. So, meaning, in case there is an abrupt need, the body the heart has to redistribute. So there is an automatic redistribution mechanism. For example, when a person is doing exercises, the blood is redeployed from the digestion system and it goes to the muscles that are performing.
To take more glucose.
So that the muscles are able to perform. Because you see, when you are doing exercises, those muscles now require more energy and they consume a lot more oxygen as compared to the muscles that are fairly dormant. And that's why it is very much encouraged that the body needs to be made to work. Otherwise, in our current generation, we do a lot of sitting and eating, and many people do very small amounts of exercises. So in that case, your body becomes just a lump of flesh and unable to essentially perform its duties properly. You are expected to be an active human being. So either you try to walk around, in case you don't have possibly a time for doing official gym work or etc., at least you walk around, because that walking around is enough to cause these muscles to require more resources as compared to a person that is just sitting around, especially we who work with computers. Our work is brain intensive. You sit for many hours doing a lot of thinking, but at the same time, due to the excessive thinking, you may end up eating all the time. You find people in the programming industry buying a lot of donuts and putting them there to eat. So you are pumping yourself with the food, but you are not doing sufficient exercises. Can become a problem. So the heart will very quickly switch blood from where it is not very much needed to where it is needed, and all that is automatic. Subhanallah. Then, because you need to have a reliable amount of blood in your body, what the body has, or what the circulation system has, is an organ called the spleen. Now that spleen keeps blood as a reservoir, just like the way you have on your house. There is a tank out there with water. So in case the water comes from national water, you begin by putting it into a tank. Then from the tank you now put it into the house. Why? So that even if the national water system is disconnected for some 1 hour or 2, you don't immediately run out of resources. You have the tank to provide that supply as you sort out the problem. So even here, the body has that temporary store of excess blood, which is called the spleen, and whenever you have something that has taken a lot of blood, there is need for replacement.
For example, the previous example that we had, when someone gets an accident and there is a lot of hemorrhage, this spleen will come in now to provide more blood.
When you get an accident, you have a lot of loss of blood. For example, when a woman does childbirth, it is an activity that involves losing a lot of blood. But you see that person does not necessarily collapse and die just because they have lost blood. Already there is an excess that is stored within the spleen, and it is automatically used to replenish the supply so that you stay alive and well, which is a very important feature of our circulatory system. Our dear viewer, we are discussing these things not as some kind of science class just to talk science, but we want contemplation. We would like you to think careful about that system that is moving your body, because the things we are discussing here are within you as a person. All of us do have this system, and it works fine to the level that you don't even feel that there is any particular system within your body. And some of these complex systems are what we base on to refuse any idea that this complex structure came out of some kind of accidental interaction of chemicals, and it is not really possible. This is an intelligent design. Even as a human being, if you found such a complex system, a network of so many small pipes connected to one large pump and etc., you wouldn't say that it somehow accidentally came into being. It is something that comes out of intelligent design, and that's why we as Muslim scientists, we insist that there is no such a thing as these things coming out of evolution or etc. We insist that there is an intelligent force that is behind all of this, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he has taken claim through the Quran. Okay, then the other fact that we need to appreciate about this circulatory system is that although we have major damage that may occur to the lung, to the blood vessels, they also suffer some small damage that you may not be able to see. So there is a self-healing element within our blood vessels. So damage occurs and it is immediately healed, not necessarily requiring blood to flow out, but there will occur some small damage. And those ones are called endothelial cells. They repair damage to the blood vessels daily, because this is a large network. Imagine a network of over 60,000 miles of flesh, and allowing blood to move around. You will definitely have some problems. But
these endothelial cells that surround the innermost part of the blood vessel, they do repair automatically.
Exactly. So whenever there is any small damage, they very quickly repair, and your system will continue to work without any problem. The other very important part of our blood is the issue of temperature regulation. Now there are certain creatures that don't need temperature regulation. Now, like these reptiles, you see those snakes. For them, their temperature depends on where they are.
They call the blooded animals.
During the day, the thing is warm. During the night, it goes to cold. So for it does not have to maintain a standard temperature. But we mammals, we human beings inclusive, the temperature has to be standard. So you are not permitted to go beyond a certain temperature in terms of how high it goes, and you are not supposed to go below a certain temperature. It has to be maintained at a certain constant. Now the only way you will maintain a standard temperature through a large body like what we have is through a liquid flowing. Actually, even the refrigerators, they use a liquid to flow around in order to cause that coolness. So the blood vessels therefore control, they help us in regulating. One, in a case there is too much heat, they constrict, they reduce. Then in a case there is a need, they increase in size. So depending on what needs to be done, the blood vessels will either increase in size, causing more flow of blood, or reduce, causing less flow, in order to keep your temperature largely uniform. Of course, it will not be 100% static like what a machine would be, but there is a small variation. But largely, you stay at a certain constant temperature, and it keeps your body very healthy and working very well. Then the other very important thing that this circulatory system does for us is removing waste material from our body. Remember, we have said your body essentially needs oxygen, but once the oxygen has been utilized, it generates carbon dioxide. Now, carbon dioxide is not a good thing within your blood.
True.
So meaning it has to be again removed. But remember, you have this large network of 60,000 miles of blood vessels that have to essentially keep moving things around. So things like carbon dioxide, which is not a very good gas within your body, it will need to be removed.
The urea from excess proteins.
So urea is also there. Excess proteins are busy creating some toxins there. They will need to be removed. Moreover, removed properly, not just haphazardly. Then you also have other things that need to be filtered out using the kidney. So the blood or the circulatory system will move ahead and ensure that at a given moment, all these things that can cause damage to your body are slowly by slowly removed in a very good way. The carbon dioxide essentially has to be taken out via the lungs, and the system is also there to do that. Possibly you shall also be looking at that the system of breathing. But for us here, we are concerned about blood helping us to remove all these toxic elements that are within our bodies, and it is all a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the other thing that we need to know is, remember we also saw this among the components of blood, the issue of immunity. You do need protection from unnecessary harmful elements that come within your body, and in that case Allah has given us the white blood cells. So they do patrol around your body, just like the way you'll have a security guard moving around your building. In case they see someone that they designate as a danger, they will take action, and that is what the blood does for us. So it is the white blood cells are not concentrated in a certain area like a barracks waiting to be deployed. No, they move around, they do patrol, and it is all the design of
the circulatory system.
Subhanahu wa ta'ala.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah.
Now the other interesting fact is the heart has its own blood supply. I think you did look at that last week.
The coronary arteries.
The coronary, they are there, meaning although the heart is busy distributing to others, it also has to
also
to take
blood,
in
oxygenated blood.
Then there is also something about the brain. The brain is very critical for proper function of very many of our organs. So remember, we said the circulatory system, especially the heart, is not dependent on the brain. Otherwise, the brain would cause a lot of chaos to the heart. The heart has its own autonomous system that works without need for the brain. That's why it is able to work from outside. But the brain has to be protected in a special way. So there are specialized vessels that protect the brain from harmful substances, so that you don't necessarily injure the brain. You injure the brain, it results into major problems. You see people that suffer just what they call stroke. So stroke essentially are meaning blood flowing abnormally in the brain. Just a small part of the brain would be damaged, and you find a person has a lot of external problems. An entire segment of the body has been rendered unable to function just because of a small clot of blood that formed somewhere. So it means if you are going to live normally, the entire brain has to be kept in a very protective way. So we do have some specialized blood vessels that are part of our circulatory system that go in and protect the brain as a special organ, and they are not available in any of the other areas. So I think those are the facts, but we may need to also look at what if your circulatory system is not working fine.
Yes.
Because here, when your system is working fine, you don't really feel like there is any...
You don't appreciate
very special thing. But you need now to appreciate that you can actually have an anomaly with your circulation system. So the very first one that we can look at is what is called the coronary artery disease. Remember, we said that the heart has its own special blood vessel. So there is a specific disease that attacks those arteries that are related with the heart. So you end up with a lot of chest pain just because of this particular attack, and you can also suffer what is called a heart attack. So that is one. And remember, we said anything that disorganizes the way your blood is moving or the way your heart is functioning would usually result in your death.
Allah Akbar Kabir.
So the next one is the heart attack. It is caused by blocked blood flow to the part of the heart. So anything that causes blood not to flow properly in the heart will cause what is called a heart attack, and in most cases you immediately, and in case it is at a large scale, usually you don't have any chance, you will die, because the heart is essentially the control of all the other areas. So heart attack, blocked flow of blood within the heart, you very easily end up with a big problem. So these are all things that can occur, and in some cases, if you look at the people that are declared dead due to some of these heart attacks, you find that there is no specific cause that they can say this caused this, because we human beings are used to avoid this because it will cause you this. But in some cases, you find the person has had a heart attack and no one is able to provide a very convincing explanation as to what really caused now the heart to come and attack. Then the other anomaly that you could face with your circulatory system is heart failure. Now, heart failure means the heart as a pump has weakened and is no longer able to pump properly. Remember, we said this heart here has to pump blood across 60,000 miles of blood vessels, and every few minutes, how many minutes does it take for blood to move around the entire body and back? Because remember, it has to do a cycle.
Yes.
So you find it has to do many cycles to keep those organs working just fine. So should your heart now slowly lose its capacity to pump to the point that now pumping is no longer efficient, you end up with heart failure. And heart failure will begin by creating fatigue. Remember that your body, for it to be efficient, that oxygen has to be moving around very efficiently. Once it's not moving around efficiently, you begin to feel tired, fatigued. So that is one. Then slowly you begin to have fluid build-up. Remember, the body, yes, it has these vessels, but they are not designed to keep static fluid. The things should be moving around. Just like the way you see rivers. The rivers are not designed to have static water just sitting there. The water has to be moving. So once you have bodies that don't have water moving, they create pools, and in most cases the water in that place is usually not good. Yes. So even here, if your heart is no longer pushing properly, you end up with the fluid build-up, and it creates very many other problems. Then there is another medical condition they call arrhythmias.
Alzheimer's disease.
Yes. The good thing, it has an equivalent English definition. Irregular heartbeat. Remember that the heart has some special electrical system that maintains that rhythm, because that rhythm is also something that is carefully designed by Allah. If you have your heart just randomly pumping things around, you will have a problem.
Yes.
So you can have a problem in that the heart is beating irregularly. Possibly there is something that is affecting the electrical system. Actually, for some people, they do an artificial attachment. They call it a heart pacemaker. So it is an electrical gadget that is attached to the heart to create these more regulated heartbeats. And those devices are actually sometimes affected by other electrical gadgets. For example, if you move around with your mobile phone near that person that has a heart pacemaker,
it might somehow increase the impulses.
It ends up disorganizing the other pacemaker. So you can see that when we human beings try to also create some innovation, ours is really very fragile. Others, you can see that the human being is able to normally move around without any problem from one environment to another. But the artificial things that we create, you find they are very fragile. Just being near other gadgets is enough to disorganize the pacemaker. So irregular heartbeats can also cause very big problems. So you'll find some of the effects. One, you have a risk of stroke. Yes. You can very easily have what you call cardiac arrest. Cardiac arrest, I think, is something also related with the heart. So you'll see that the majority of these abnormalities tend to be with the heart, because you see that the circulatory system is largely driven by the vessels as just containers. The heart is the main functional element, and that's why you find the abnormalities are there. I think we are about to close our session. Yes. So we conclude, our dear viewer, by reminding you that this show is essentially a contemplation show. Our purpose is to come here, trigger your mind by giving you some very interesting facts about the very body that you are moving around with. Yes. So today we have been looking at the circulatory system, and we've seen a number of things that are very miraculous about it, and we have also seen some problems that you could face in case your system is not working fine. So yes, actually we do have a whole heart institute here just to deal with the issues related with that circulatory problem. So it's not that they are idle and they are not having things to do. They deal with a very complex mechanism, but that is just one of the various systems that you have within your body. So contemplate, think careful about what is keeping that heart of yours not going berserk and just pumping blood and it comes out of your mouth and other places. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for every second of your life, there is an intelligent force that is keeping you balanced, and you need to worship that that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Give him the basic. Allah has only commanded us to do simple ibadat, just prayer 5 times in a day, 24 hours. You only need the maximum of maybe 30 minutes total to worship. The rest of the time is left to you to do whatever you may want. But you will find a person moving around with a body that is very fragile, but Allah has protected him from any defects, and the person is not even able to offer just something as simple as swala. So let's be intelligent, and let's contemplate about these things that Allah has put in our bodies as we become more aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power and to worship him in a genuine way. Thank
you very much, our scientist, Mr. Hamza Sekalema, for today's session. This is always the Al Hidayah Show from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. every Monday. We appreciate you, our dear viewers, for keeping on, for tuning in from 3 up to 4. We appreciate, this is the Al Hidayah Show where we appreciate science and Islam. For our dear viewers to appreciate, you can tune in GoTV, Star Times, or the Afro Mobile app. For those who have missed the show, you can visit the Salam TV YouTube channel for the recaps. Thank you very much. I remain Alkam Mayanja, your host, and Hamza Sekalema, our dear guest. Thank you very much. We meet again, and please don't forget to fast Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this very week, because that is corresponding to 13th, 14th, and then 15th of Safar. That is our white days, and you're counted as if you're fasting the whole month. Thank you very much. We meet next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Eno ye Salam TV. Entambuza ya Daawa tujongeddemu ebisoko n'ebinnonogo mu budde obunyovu ku muzikiti gwo wennyini mu kitundu kyo, era ku Mande tuba ne Sheamus ni kiti
togwa musu tuliwo Allah n'akwanga okwanjaga kukonna lakuulira gwe tossa mukono kusaba togwa musuubi.
Olwokubiri Sheikh Salim Bosa,
wasta'inu bis-sabri was-salah, mweyambise nnyo okubeera abagumiikiriza era mweyambise nnyo okubeera nga muyimirizaawo esswala.
Olwokusatu Omulangira Sheikh Ndawula Siddiq, bino binnonogo byennyini mu budde obunyovu.
faman ya'mal mithqala dharratin khayran yarah. Abo tetubatiiririra ky'omuntu yenna akoze akalungi ke nga katono katya yarahu, Allah agenda kamulaga era akamuweemu empeera ejyamu.
Olwokuna Sheikh Imran Sali,
era nga naye bwe yakikkaatiriza n'aga nti wa in ta'uddu ni'matallahi la tuhsuha. Ne bw'otandika kubala ebyengera Allah byakuwadde tosobola kubikomekkereza. Tumwebaza Allah olw'ebyengera ebingi byatuwadde.